Hi, and welcome to Learn with Sawgrass, the Wednesday edition. I am Rhonda, the Education Manager here at Sawgrass, and we're so glad to have you with us, whether it's live or whether you're watching it a little bit later. But we do go live every Tuesday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern, and then every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern to talk about all the things Sawgrass. We're going to tell you about our printers, our inks. We're going to give you some inspiration. We're going to talk about our software. I'm going to cover some business tips as well. So join us each week right here on YouTube, whether it's live or whether it's recorded later, and we will hopefully teach you some things that you may not know. Now, just a little bit of housekeeping behind the scenes today. We do have Rhodes. He is monitoring the chat. So if you do have any questions, if you do have any comments, please put them in there. And if I miss any tips that you think are huge, please make sure and put those in there for everyone else to see as well. I'll pester them a few times just to see if you have any comments or any questions that I can assist with. So if you missed yesterday, please go back and watch it. It was a lot of fun. One of my favorite products that kind of the world's been opened up to us by VersaFlex, and that's going to be ribbon. So we just did some really great ribbon projects yesterday. And yes, I have heard the pun that I was all tied up yesterday. So today we are going to shift gears. And so we're talking about what I think my top 12 tips are for success with Sawgrass. So whether you are running Sublegend ink or you have the new VersaFlex ink, whatever ink you may have, if you have an SG500, an SG1000, or one of our older printers, here are the top 10 tips or top 12 tips that I feel you need to be successful. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So first of all, one of the things is you know, and we're going to talk about support in a little bit, but one of the things, people always assume it's the printer. If there's an issue, people always assume it's something with the software, the ink, or something on our side. But a lot of times it's going to come down to the pressing end of things. And a huge part of that is make sure to use quality blanks. So when we talk about sublimation, that is going to be blanks from reputable sources. Any of our dealers and Find Our dealers are going to offer high quality blanks that they're going to stand behind. But because that poly coating is so important on those blanks, getting it from a great source is going to be important. And just remember that if you are purchasing from somewhere like an Amazon or a Temu or any of those places, there are no requirements or explanations when they put words in the title. So if they're tagging words or they're putting words in the title, those are just words that they think will get you to their listing. It doesn't necessarily mean it applies. So just because something says sublimation does not mean that it actually has the correct poly coating for sublimation. And if you've ever purchased flags off of any of those sources for sublimation, you know I'm telling you the truth. None of those are the right thickness or the right quality or the right anything to work. So, well, some are, but there's a good portion that aren't. So quality blanks from a reputable dealer. Now, when we talk about blanks for VersaFlex, you're checking them. You know, are they flat? Is it something that you're going to get an even pressure across the surface? Because if you're not getting even pressure across the surface, you're going to get some areas where you're not going to get the ink. So that's going to be very important when we talk about fabric. Is it fabric that's going to stand up to the heat? You saw me use satin yesterday, and satin is one of those fine line products. It is, if it's a little too hot, if your press is a little off, that may melt more than you need or shrink a little bit more than you need. So high quality products, making sure that it's a product that's made for what you're doing, extremely important. Now, these are in no particular order. This isn't the 12th most, that wasn't the 12th most important, and it wasn't the top most important. It's just kind of on there. I kind of thought of these, and everyone in the building went, yeah, no, you nailed it. So I've rearranged them a little bit just topic wise, but there's no particular order here. All right, so the next one is to design for the blank you were using. So that means take into consideration what you're pressing onto. As we all know, we do not have a white ink. So that means that anything that is white on your design, a true hex code FFFFFF, you know, all of those things, a true white is going to be the color of the product. So it was something that I considered yesterday. I was doing something that had white in it. Did I want it to be the white that was the product? Or did I want to add a little yellow or a little ivory into it to make it a little bit different than the color of the product? Those are things that are important. I use it to my favor or to my advantage a lot of times. If I am doing a jack-o'-lantern, I may do the jack-o'-lantern in not an orange, but do it in a black, do it in another color, and then leave white for the eyes and the mouth and let that be the orange of the shirt. So thinking of those things, designing with the product in mind, you know, I think I've pretty much established this, if I haven't flat out said it before. The bane of my existence is wine tumblers. Partially because they're, to me, the whole reason we have convection ovens, because they are that weird tapered shape. The other reason I don't like them is because you need to change your design to match that arc so that when it wraps around, it's even instead of curved. So you have to curve it in the design so it's flat on the, that's too much trouble for me, a little bit too much math. So think of those things. Those things are going to be very important. Something like this, I think you can see it. This has a very loose weave to the fabric. So you have to design something that's going to stand up and still read well on that kind of product. So for success with our equipment, designing with the product in mind, and there are some videos that I've made, I did a whole workshop on that, that are going to come in handy. When we are talking about true sublimation, don't skimp on the tape. Use the tape. Now, of course, there are some products that need less tape than others. I tend to not use as much on metal as I do on drinkware. I think I've pointed it out a few times. If your pressure isn't solid in a tumbler press, if you have tape across from it, that will often keep it from buckling, because often the paper may change shape a little bit, shape shift a little bit under the heat, and you're going to get some gaps. So don't skimp on the tape. Tape is important. Don't have to use it with VersaFlex, which is very, very nice, but keep that in mind. I left one out, so I am going to do a 3B on this one. Don't forget your extra equipment for your press. That's going to mean using not only tape, but using pressing pillows and using silicone pads. Silicone pads are going to be extremely important for anything that is a little fragile. It's also great for helping to give that even coating. If it's something that's a little, slate's really important to use it, because it helps get into those kind of crevices and those corners. So use that silicone pad, and then of course pressing pillows. We had this conversation yesterday. It was a pillow. Pillows have seams, pillows have zippers. Do we need one in there? I think I had the same conversation yesterday because I had fabric ribbon that had a wire in it. You know, is that enough of a difference in the surface that a pressing pillow would help flatten that out? So pressing pillows, silicone pads, we'll call that 3B. Use those when you need them. Now to move over to the printer side. Always leave your printer plugged in and turned on. I always say it that way because someone had it plugged in and not turned on, so I always make sure to include both. And of course, you can't turn it on if it's not plugged in. So plugged in and turned in is going to be extremely important. Why? One of the best things about the Sawgrass printer is it does self-maintenance. So about twice a day, every 10 to 12 hours that the printer is not in use, it is going to run a fraction of 1% of ink through the lines to keep the ink moving and to prevent the ink from settling, from the particles in the ink from settling. Why is that bad? Because that is what's going to cause clogs, and then you're not going to get the print quality that you need. So it is very important that that maintenance happens. So the printer does need to be plugged in and it does need to be turned on. Now, of course, can I unplug it and move it across the house? Yes. Is anything bad going to happen if my power goes out for a few hours? No, of course not. Can I put my printer in the car and take it somewhere to use for a show? Of course. Any of those short periods are not a big issue. That's going to be perfectly fine. The issue is when you leave it off for an extended period of time. You know, if you have to evacuate during a hurricane or during a snowstorm or anything else, making sure that as soon as you get back, that's the first thing you turn on if the power had gone off while you were gone. I have done that myself. I have ruined a printer because the power went off and I forgot and didn't check, and then the printer sat for several weeks. So that self-maintenance is going to be very important. Now, there's a few of these that kind of fit together, and then I'll make another statement kind of at the end of this. These printers are production printers. This isn't something like a vinyl cutter where nothing happens if you don't use it and you just let it sit in the corner. I actually have been cutting vinyl yesterday and today, and I used a cutter that probably hasn't been, this morning I used a cutter that probably hasn't been used in at least 12 months. No issue. It was in a closet. Pull it out, plug it in. There's no ink in there. There's nothing that needs to move, so that's perfectly fine. That is not the case with inkjet printers in general and Sawgrass printers specifically. You need to be printing something. Do a small project, do a keychain, do a magnet. Just ever so often print something out, even if it's a nozzle check. Every few weeks, you should be doing something. I say 2 weeks at a minimum, you should be running something through the printer. Just anything. Just keep it moving, keep it flowing. Again, it is a production unit. It is designed to be used, so this is going to be very important. So make sure that occasionally, even if it's not your busy season, that you're making a random mug or birthday gift. I mean, come on. We all know someone who has a birthday in every month of the year. Just make a birthday gift. It's a magnet, it's a keychain, it's a mug. Everyone gets mugs this year, but use that just as a way to keep the printer printing. The other thing that I would say is at least once a month. If I accomplish anything in my videos, I hope it is this, that once a month you open the lid to the printer. You open the top lid to the printer and you look inside. How does your feed belt look? Are there any lines on it? Are the edges frayed? Is there anything going on there? How about that little metal bar? Is there any ink on that metal bar? Then we're going to look over at our capping station. How's our wiper blade look? Is there a lot of ink on there that we can wipe off? How about move that head and look at the capping station? How does that look? I did a video, I explained all of this last month or 2 months ago. Please check out that video. Please open your lid at least once a month. These printers, they do need to be used. They do want to be used. So please make sure that you are checking them, making sure everything's in working order. We're going to talk more about this in just a little bit. So to go back to this whole leaving it on, I know I see people on social media talking about it from both angles. A, I don't want it to do maintenance because it uses ink. Well, unfortunately, that's the only way to prevent it from clogging, is to push some ink through the lines. There's no other product in there. There's nothing else you can do that is the best way to maintain your printer. Don't turn it off to avoid it, because the chances of it clogging while it's turned off are too great. I don't think there's ever been a time that I've turned a printer off for a couple of weeks that I haven't turned it on and there's some level of clog that needs to be cleaned. It may be small, but there is something. So don't turn it off to avoid the maintenance. The maintenance is going to be very, very important. And then, of course, yes, if your printer has been off, there is a chance that there is a clog. Doesn't mean you can't clear it. Doesn't mean that you can't fix it. But you're increasing your chances of having an issue by turning it off. So yes, it is going to do more maintenance because it needs to do more maintenance if it's been turned off. So just don't turn it off. Then we don't have to worry about it. And we don't have to have this conversation. But leave it turned on, let it do its maintenance, and you have a better chance of success. All right. The next thing that I think is extremely important is that you are using the Sawgrass print utility. It's kind of like the whole argument of, can I print and press with regular copy paper instead of sublimation paper? Well, you can, but you aren't going to get a great result. So can you send directly to the printer? Yes, but nothing is set there to help you out. You're not getting any of the profiling. You're not getting any of the specifics of sublimation. You are just getting a basic print driver that isn't helping you at all. So your best result is always going to be to use the Sawgrass print utility and to update it. Now, I know there are, people out there who are like, don't update. Please trust me. If you have not listened to my podcast with Julian Firth, please go listen to it. Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, Ink Differently. The last episode is with Julian Firth, and he walks through this. We are at a point, and I can say this honestly, where I feel our software development team is the best it's ever been. I feel that the level of quality checking that is put into the software at this point is equal to the level of quality checking that is put into our ink. And I will stand by the quality checking on our ink with everything in me. So I will say the same at this point for our software as well. We quality check and quality check and quality check. I heard it this morning before I walked into this room. Heard the person who does our quality checking say, okay, it's good. I'm ready to say, let's release a pre-release. That means internally, now we'll have a version to test what he's been testing and tweaking for weeks now. So please know, update. Don't worry about it. You're not going to have to worry about it causing any issues. We do thorough testing. And it has gotten better and better over the years, and it is really, really good. So update the software, use the software. Sawgrass Print Utility is always going to give you the best results with our printers and with our inks. The next thing is trust us, please. We have profiles in place that is going to lay down the correct amount of ink and is going to be adjusted for saturation and contrast and all of those things to match up with your selections. So I do occasionally see people online go, If I'm pressing onto glass, what product should I choose? Glass. If I'm pressing onto metal, what product should I choose? Metal. The profiles are set correctly. Now, you will see that with our presets, the one for frosted glass does some wonky things. We know that is going to give you the best results, so that's why the preset exists, is to give you that. But always choose the product that you're pressing onto. Trust us, we've got it all set up to make sure that you're getting the best results. All right, Rhodes, I'll catch my breath. Do we have any questions or comments?
A good comment from Lori. Don't be afraid to open up the machine and get familiar with what's inside. It isn't as intimidating as it sounds. I know a lot of people are hesitant to do that.
Yep, so we have a good quick tip video from Rose. We have a good workshop from me where we go through those things, those steps. So please check out those. They are really great. They are very helpful, and yes, don't be intimidated. You will be just fine. And we're going to get to the next part of that in just a minute. Okay, if you see lines in your print, and normally I'm going to say if after pressing one, you're seeing lines in the pressed product, or your colors are off after it's pressed, do a nozzle check. Period. Don't phone a friend. Don't go looking for answers. Don't adjust your job. Don't adjust your press. Don't do anything. Stop. Is it pass go or don't pass go when you're going to jail in Monopoly?
If you get that card that sends you to jail that says do not pass go.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. The very first thing you need to do is a nozzle check, period. Always the first step. Nozzle checks can be printed on copy paper. They're not getting pressed. Print that out and check that nozzle check. You can do it from the Sawgrass print utility. You can do it straight from the printer. Knowledge base, my videos, everywhere shows you how to print a nozzle check, but print a nozzle check. That's the easiest thing to rule out and is the most likely issue. And that is going to be a clog of some kind that you can then do a head clean and usually clean or clear in 1 or 2 head cleans. So the very first thing you do, if your colors are off when pressed, if you have lines in the product or in the print when you've pressed it, print a nozzle check. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. First step, print a nozzle check every single time. Then if you've ruled that out, then we can move to other things. But the very first thing you should always do is print a nozzle check. Now, I did say press it. And here's why. Especially with sublimation, the colors that you are seeing are not necessarily going to be what it looks like when it's pressed. I've always said my personal favorite is a true turquoise because turquoise will print silver. It is the weirdest thing on the planet, and then it presses this beautiful turquoise color. But all of your colors are going to be dull. All of your colors are going to be a little off. So until you've pressed it, you really can't see. So I guess this is 12 or 13 or whatever we want to call it. But always keep some spare fabric on hand. So some yards of polyester fabric. If we're doing sublimation, you can keep mugs that are cracked or the handles are broken off of and use those for testing. You can do the same with metal panels. Just keep some of the scrap metal, whatever it may be. Have some scrap material on hand that you can do some testing on just to make sure everything looks good and is working. Now, the lines, there are lines that press out. Not every line you see in a print is going to be in the pressed product. I know not everyone believes that, But I do feel, even with lines, I will press one, not waste a blank. I'll put it on something else, but I will test that because a lot of times lines will press out. So that's why I always say, if you're seeing lines or color shifts in your final product, that's when we're going to go over and do a nozzle check. All right. Use your resources. I've already mentioned this a few times, but I'm just going to flat out say it. Use the knowledge base. Use the Sawgrass Academy, our videos on YouTube. We have so much material there to help you with just about anything. Well, we'll get to that in the next point. But we have a lot of material there for you. Please take advantage of it. Watch it. If that's not the way that you learn, then this is where workshops come in. Ask your questions. Let us help you there. We're going to talk about the care team in a minute. Make sure you're reaching out to the care team so that they can help you. But we have a lot of resources in place. You're going to see a lot more blog resources in the next calendar year as well. So whether it's blogs, whether it's the knowledge base, whether it's our YouTube videos, we have some content to help you with pretty much everything. Okay, so this is going to segue right into point number 11, which is when in doubt, reach out to the care team. Reach out to the care team. Our care team, again, is doing a phenomenal job. They are in a great place. They are extremely helpful. They're extremely knowledgeable. And so they are going to be a great resource for you whenever you have an issue. So that's the first place to go, is go to the care team. They're going to know the latest and the greatest. As I've said, they have access to the software team. They have access to the R&D team with the inks and the printers too. So please reach out to the care team. Please reach out to the care team. Please reach out to the care team. They'll be glad to assist you, and that's why they're here. And then finally, and this is one that if you haven't seen my workshop on large production orders, this was an aha moment for me. I know a lot of you do your jobs over the weekend. We do not have the care team on Saturday and Sunday or in the evenings. So if you have large projects that you're going to be doing over the weekend, then you need to, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, do a test run. Make sure the software is working. Make sure your press is working. Make sure your printer is working. Make sure your blanks are good. Do all of that early in the week because, first of all, if you need us, we're not here on the weekend. So going early in the week, you can get it resolved before you actually need to do production. If you have run out of tape or blowout paper or even blanks or your ink is low or any of those things, realizing it earlier in the week gives you that buffer to get it ordered and to get it here so that you have it. So for many, many reasons, doing a test run to make sure you have everything you need and that everything you need is working is going to be great. So test runs earlier in the week so that you are set up for success on the weekends. All right, so that's my 12. Rhodes, are there any other questions or comments?
No, we are caught up on everything.
Awesome. I know that wasn't the longest workshop in the world, but I think it is very helpful. So hopefully I said something that you haven't heard, or maybe heard said that way, or heard said in a while, that will help you out. But those are what I think are the keys to making sure that you have success, both when you are printing, when you're pressing as well. And so that's kind of it for this week. We will be back with you next week. We have a couple of days full of projects, so that's going to be really exciting. And then just kind of a editor's note, the last 2 weeks of the month, we're only doing Tuesdays. We're not doing Wednesdays. I am skipping both Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. So we'll be doing one per week those weeks. But we have a couple of fun podcasts coming up between now and the end of the year too. So got some exciting things on the horizon. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.